Hello and welcome to Mike's Garage. If you've already subscribed to our channel, thank you very much. If you haven't yet, by all means, please do. And when you do, please hit the little notification bell so you'll be notified each time one of our videos comes up. Also, if you tap the little like button, we appreciate that too. I get a lot of comments, which is really, I actually enjoy them. I try to answer every comment, and every once in a while I lose one or two because I'm not very computer literate, but I do my best to answer all of the comments. With answering all the comments, I get asked a lot of the same questions repeatedly, which means they must be good questions. And I'd like to answer them all if I can. Basically, what we're going to address today is how do you seal this and how do you seal that and what sealant do you use? And there's no single answer to any of that. It depends on the material, it depends on where it is, what it is, and I'm going to try to cover some of that quickly right now. So I think we'll start with the motor from the bottom to the top. And I have my motorcycle here, so I try not to forget some of those parts. Some of those things I just do automatically. But the first thing, of course, would be the crankcases going together. Now, in previous videos, we've shown how to prep those cases. And always remember, preparation is 90% of it. It's all about the surface that you're dealing with and how nice you can make it. When you lap those cases together and the surfaces are super smooth, they're going to seal well. You've lapped them together, you have a matching pair of cases, and they'll seal well. Well, there's several different sealants on the market, and I think I've used certainly every one of them I've ever come across, and I've been satisfied with every one of them. I can't say any of them were bad. There's 3-Bond, there's Yamabond. I'm sure all the motorcycle manufacturers probably use different ones. Every one of them I've used has done a really good job. So that takes care of sealing the crankcases. So moving right with the motor here, the next thing would be the oil pump. Now, you can buy oil pump gaskets in paper or plastic. Depending on the year of the motorcycle, I like the paper ones. The plastic ones are just fine. We tried a lot of sealants over the years, and when I finally learned from an old mechanic, white lithium grease was the answer, now I put oil pumps together once, and they're together and not leaking. White silicone grease. The beauty of using white silicone grease is white lithium grease, excuse me. White lithium grease. What is lithium? I am not a chemist. I don't know what lithium is. All I know is it works. I looked at the chemical ingredients on the grease, and it refers to it as a soap. Okay. Anyway, so you put it on the gasket surfaces, or on the oil pump surfaces as you apply the gasket, and it seals. And any of it that comes off into your oil system isn't going to do any damage. There's no problem with it. That's why I use it. Any other kind of sealant in an oil pump, and you're risking contaminating it into your oil system, and that's bad. Not good. Bad stuff. Next thing would be the lifter blocks. Lifter blocks, you know, they make all kinds of gaskets for them. And when you're using a paper gasket is one thing. The ones I put in here were metal and some kind of fiber. I don't know what all was in them. But I used them, and they were great. I put them in dry. The old paper ones, I say paper, I don't know what fiber this really is, but I spray them with this stuff. This is not the only brand of this stuff. I don't know how many brands of it I've had over the years, but it's copper suspended in gasket sealant. Spray it on both sides of the gasket, let it air dry for a few minutes. On a hot summer day, it's like stand outside. And then install it. The only downside of that is it sticks so well, even though the copper is filling all of the porosity in the aluminum, and that's really nice. But they stick really hard. And removing your lifter blocks the next time you want to take them off, I usually do it with a block of wood and a hammer. Using a block of wood to make sure you don't damage that lifter block. You're just trying to jar it loose. Now they make metal gaskets. This is for a twin cam. And that's not really a lifter block, it's just a cover. And these metal gaskets have a silicone bead already on them. You put them in dry. That takes care of lifter blocks. Cam covers. This is a standard, I want to call it paper again, but I don't really know what the material is. I put them on dry. When you're working on a lot of the old motorcycles, Panheads, early Shovelheads, Knuckleheads, that gasket's pretty thin, and that would be fine if the surfaces of the cam cover and the case are really nice and smooth. The problem with a lot of the old motorcycles, if they've been taken apart roughly. In other words, somebody pried that cam cover off with a screwdriver, which means they gouged the material. I usually use that gray pasty silicone stuff on that. And that works real well. And it doesn't stick too badly, and it's easy to remove. Kind of a good thing. So that takes care of cam covers and, oh, here we go, cylinder base gaskets. In the old days, they were all made like this. This is a Knucklehead base gasket. Again, for lack of the proper term, we'll call it paper. Cardboard, fiber, some sort of thing. It's pressed material, and it's good stuff. I would use the copper spray on that. That's what I would use. Now, with the modern stuff out today, I still use these too in some instances. And of course, they're making steel ones. These are for a Panhead, I think, yeah. And again, they're the printed seal. I think one of the trade names for that was Printo Seal. That doesn't require any type of sealant added to it. They can be put in dry, and they work well. And again, those are made in I don't know how many brands. They also make steel ones now that don't have that, but they're embossed. And they go in dry. When in doubt, do what the manufacturer tells you to do. If the manufacturer of the gasket says, put it in dry, put it in dry. That's the way I do it, and it works for me. Again, I hope it works for you too. That's my intent. Okay, next thing. Here's a rocker box gasket for an Evolution. Again, printed metal. They make paper ones. They work good. It's really nice to use things that don't require any sealant. Okay, another thing would be O-rings. O-rings should never be installed dry. And I go to my old standard now, white lithium grease on them, and install them. Again, with O-rings, if you don't coat them with something, you're going to chafe them putting them in, and that's what you're trying to avoid. Okay, pushrod tubes. Now, pushrod tubes, you know, they're a headache until you get them down to where you've solved all your problems. This is an old pushrod tube off of something. Shovelhead, Panhead, I don't know. Here's the internal top piece. And here is that outer collar. And then a spring goes in here. And then there's a washer here. And you put your cork gasket on there. This is the large bottom one. And you put it together and you say, I wish that was tighter. I just wish it was tighter. So you go to your local Harley dealer and you get some of these washers that are intended for pushrod tubes. And what I do is I put one inside of here and one on the outside of here, then the seal, and then the tube. And what that does is it tightens that spring so that when you put that in there and you put the clip on it, which goes like that, it's tighter. It gives it a tighter squish on it. And that has helped me a number of times. Finding these little washers is kind of a rough thing, but the dealership should be able to get them for you. Let's see, what else do I have? Let's see, I have this here for Panhead gaskets. I like to use these. I don't know how many companies make them, but they're cork pan lid gaskets with metal in between two layers of cork. With a Panhead, you put those on. The only way you're going to change them again is to remove the head and change them. I use a gray silicone sealant for that. Here's another thing that's kind of fun. In Panheads, in order to keep the rocker arms from making a lot of noise, there is a felt pad that goes inside the lid. I put that in with contact cement. Works fine. I've done it for years and years. Let them dry before you put them on the bike. Overnight's a good idea. Okay, that pretty well covers it. Let me think of any other chemicals. Putting things together. I use assembly lube. You can buy at any auto parts store. Any favorite brands? Not really. I've used everything that I can think of. Of course, putting carburetors on. Again, white lithium grease, I'll put it on the gasket of the carburetor. I'll put it on the float bowl for the carburetor. I'll put it on the O-ring for the carburetor. White lithium grease is the best sealant I've ever come across for carburetors. May not sound logical, but it is. It works real well. The other thing is, I forgot to mention, when you're dealing with an Evolution motor, Evolution or twin cam that has a carburetor on it, there's a rubber seal in the intake manifold that the carburetor pushes into. Again, you don't want to chafe that piece of, I should say rubber, I believe it's neoprene. But what you do, there's a little dish soap around the inside of it. That carburetor will slide right in there without tearing up that seal, which is your goal. Other than that, I'm looking to see what chemicals I got out here. Not all of it's gasket sealants. I've got, I know what I did. Exhaust pipes on a Shovelhead, where that pipe bolts onto the head, and you keep getting a leak there. Part of it is you probably haven't supported the pipe well at the other end. Everybody badmouths that one bolt mounting. It's not bad if the whole pipe is held straight the way it needs to be. But in putting in the gasket, high temperature silicone. The only problem with it is it smells bad. And it may take a week till that smell goes away. Let's just, you twisting your throttle is going to help. But what you really need to realize is it's the smell of a fresh motor. It's okay. Or the smell of a job well done. But if it seals up that exhaust pipe, it's a good thing. Let's see, other chemicals I've got here. You know, you want to clean your brake calipers. Any automotive shop has disc brake caliper lube for putting those seals together after you've cleaned the pucks. Dielectric silicone grease on all of your light bulbs and electrical connections. It keeps out moisture and protects all those contacts. So I hope that's answered a few questions. I hope it helps. Hope it's a service to somebody. If so, that makes me real happy. And we'll talk about something else fun next time. So until then, I'll see you out on the road.